You are listening to the Park Flyer Podcast, where we discuss our RC adventures.
Welcome to the Park Flyer Podcast, where we discuss the ups and downs of the new RC Flyer. Join your hosts, Michael and Jay, as they take flight at the park. Now on with the show.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Park Flyer Podcast. I'm Michael from Arizona. With me always are my good friends.
Jay from the hills of Texas.
And AK Mike in Texas.
And we have a special guest tonight joining us. Welcome aboard.
Hey, it's Tim Walker, Navion Flyer.
There you go.
From North Carolina. Sorry.
There you go. Not a problem. So Tim is joining us from North Carolina. And Tim was part of the podcast, I think, at the end of last year, right, for the Secret Santa.
Yes. Yeah, we talked about the Crash Cast and Angle of Attack, which is the podcast that I've been a part of in recent memory.
Back. Welcome back.
Yeah,
I didn't offend you enough last time, I guess.
No.
Yeah, keep trying. Yeah. It'll work out.
So we've tried really hard to kind of, redo our thinking process. And so it's good to have you on board because we've been on our social media group, we've been kind of busted in the chops a little bit for saying escape versus electronic speed controller. So we're all trying to make an effort to do that. So it's good to have someone, from outside of our three little guys that can keep us on track. So if we say escape, you can just go, what? Anyway, we enjoy when we hear listeners give us a rash. It's fun to hear that interaction. So we appreciate that.
A little bit of a topical cream and that'll clear right up.
There you go. I'm sure it will. While we are talking about talking about that, I will say, if I haven't said it before, I'm going to reiterate it, but we have been accepted and are now on iHeartRadio. So our podcast is basically under the hobbies section on iHeartRadio. If you have an iPhone or any other type of phone that can download the iHeartRadio app, if you go to podcast, type us in Park Flyer Podcast, it will come up and you can subscribe to us. And we are really excited because evidently they're a little on the picky side about who they let on. So we were able to accept, they accepted us. So I applied and I heard something a couple of weeks later that said, yep, you've been accepted. You've got enough, I guess we got enough episodes and good enough content that they have us here. So we're excited.
So they actually listen to the show.
I don't know if they're
saying that.
Does that matter? I didn't realize that mattered.
I don't know if it matters or not, but I'm still excited. So yeah, if you listen to iHeartRadio, we are there, and we are still on Spotify and a bunch of different other type of podcast software. I don't know what you call that. Their upload when you listen to it. So we're still on iTunes and we're going strong there. So we really appreciate your support. The other thing is that our new website is up and we do have a donate button. I think Tim talked about that with us last time. And so if you would like to donate and help us run the podcast, then you're welcome to do that too. You just click the button and donate whatever amount necessary.
Let me step in as a previous podcaster and somebody who understands what you guys are going through. For everybody out there that's listening, these guys do spend money out of their own pockets to do this. It's part of doing the show.
Right.
You end up buying stuff. You end up, trying something out just so that we can talk about something on the show next week kind of thing. I know once I stopped doing the podcast, I stopped spending as much money on the hobby.
There you go.
So, if you can help them out, buy them a cup of coffee on the way to the field or anything, it's greatly appreciated. So
thank you very much. Yeah, we do appreciate that if you're willing to. Having said that, we also, I think in the future, we're talking, I think Mike had mentioned earlier in a meeting that we had about some of the production stuff that I think we're going to bring up a telephone number that you can call into the show as well. So we're going to give that a try, I think, in the future, and we'll keep you up to speed on as that rolls out. But this COVID-19 thing to kind of go away. So is everybody still doing okay? I don't hear any coughs, wheezes, or any ventilators going in the background. So that's probably good news. And everybody looks healthy because I can still see everybody. They don't look sick.
I haven't given it to Jay yet, so that's good.
That's right.
I'm still hermetically sealed in my house, so
in the bunker. Speaking of that, I was telling my wife earlier about us being on, iHeartRadio. And so she's like, oh, really? What is that? And so I kind of showed her on her iPhone and I pulled it up, and the episode came up from last time where says Corona and me or whatever. She goes, oh, did you change your name to Corona? And I'm like, no. And she's like, well, it says Mike, Corona, and me. So either you're Corona or Jay's Corona. Somebody's Corona. I'm like, I don't know who that is. So she started listening to it. I could hear her in the other room. I kid you not. I could hear her laughing at we're hermetically sealed in our bunker and we're doing that thing. She was cackling like a schoolgirl. I thought it was pretty funny. So it's good to know that someone who's not really affiliated with the hobby still finds humor in our intro. So we're good with that. So if you find humor in it, give us a thumbs up. We appreciate that too.
My mom used to listen to our show, so I had to keep the guys in check.
Yes,
in case they started
going down the rabbit hole.
Roads, topics that needed not to be discussed when my mom is listening. So
there you go. Yeah, my mom and dad listen as well. So I don't know if they know what they're listening to, but they're like, "Oh, we heard you." I'm like, "Okay, good." So how's it going in North Carolina? You guys are pretty much working from the house, or how's this COVID-19 affecting you?
Well, transportation industry is a essential function. I work for an aircraft manufacturer and going into work every day. I could work from home, but my wife is home and my son is home as well. So it makes it a little tough for all three of us to be here at the same time. But most like my entire team, with the exception of my manager and me, are working from they're working from home. So far so good. Actually, it's shown some, I guess, sort of weak spots in our communication skills, and those have been shored up, and so that's good. At the same time, it would be nice to be able to see people's faces, and some of my guys are a little more social than others, and they keep asking, "Hey, when can we come back?"
Right. Exactly.
So how's that working? I mean, do you guys like yell down the hall at each other? Hey, yeah, can you bring me a paperclip? Leave it in the hallway, okay?
He has a spit guard that he has to wear, big,
you're walking around with a little piece of plastic in front of your face as you're walking around the office.
He walks around with a big piece of plexiglass. Hey, boys.
They did actually put up like cardboard dividers between our cubicles to make them taller.
Oh, there you go.
So, are you serious?
No, I'm dead serious. That's but
well, okay. So explain how your cubicles go, because you have some they're like little half dividers between the cubicles, or little quarter ones, or there's other ones that are 8 foot high. I mean, are they
right?
No,
the ones
higher than that to the ceiling, or what are
the ones that we have are pretty low. They're the lowest that I've ever been around. Like my previous job, ours were about 5 feet tall, but these are under 4 feet tall. They're just above the desk, like maybe a foot above the desk height. So I can.
Jay, what you don't know is that his coworker's name is Sneezy. So this is
Sneezy.
Did you notice, Tim, that yours is the only cubicle with the cardboard around it, or did everybody?
Yeah, they did mention something about hermetically sealing me into the cube.
That's all.
I'm calling it from there now.
There you go. It's all wrapped in cellophane. That's fun.
Yeah, I think someone should come out wrapped in saran wrap. I think that'd be good.
Yeah, that would be pretty funny. So
yeah.
Well, so you were mentioning something earlier that you kind of got sequestered in there, and you had to go to the store for your wife, right?
Yep. No, it was her birthday last Friday, so normally I'd take her out for a nice dinner. My son and me would take her somewhere nice, and but I had to do the cooking for her on her birthday. So I went over to the store and got some nice New York strip steaks, some USDA prime New York strips, and did some potatoes up and everything for her. So it turned out to be a pretty decent one. I even check this out, I made a cake from scratch. This is the first time I've ever done this.
Oh no.
Wow.
And turned out pretty good. It was a recipe that I found from 1919, I think it was. it's just it was essentially just a straight up kind of butter cake, but it was good and it turned out well and it tasted good. So
we like butter.
She didn't look at you and say, "This is the best kind of German chocolate cake I've ever made." You're like, "It's a butter cake, but thanks."
Actually, she's a connoisseur of German chocolate cake, so she would know.
Didn't know the difference, right?
Oh yeah.
My wife's birthday was 2 weeks ago, and I just took her to Popeye's Chicken. So we got takeout. We came back to the house. And that was,
He really went overboard for his wife.
I did.
Can you tell?
Well, but here's the thing with that. My wife is a nurse, and once you've taken microbiology, you end up being a germaphobe. That's why I didn't go into any healthcare professions. Right. She's not particularly interested in eating anything from anywhere other than something cooked at home right now. We have had pizza once, and I think we had one other meal, and the rest of them we have all cooked at home, which is a big difference to us because we have a tendency to eat out more. So
no, we do too. As a matter of fact, I saw something my wife passed along to me that she had some Instagram account or whatever she was on. It said, during COVID-19, you need to go try on your jeans at least once a week because pajamas are going to make you feel like everything's okay.
Yes.
At the end of it, you're not going to be able to wear anything because nothing's going to fit. So I know exactly how it is. I try to fill my days with, doing other stuff other than just making trips to the refrigerator going, what should I eat? What should I eat? What should I eat?
Yeah, I've seen the meme, my refrigerator just said to me, what the heck do you want now?
Exactly. There you go. That's exactly right. Well, since we're all kind of sequestered here, have you been able to build anything? Or, I mean, you've kind of, we haven't talked to you in a while. So did you have
I actually got out and flew last weekend.
Very nice. I've been at the field pretty much every day, so I know how that is.
Well, it's one of those things. I had not flown since Hayfie in October. Oh, wow. Just things conspired against me. My flying field is an hour drive away. Ooh, so it's a commitment to go flying, and I really don't have a decent place to fly locally with the stuff I have right now, although I'll talk about that in a minute too. Because it just, when you're talking about 2 hours of driving and a few hours at the field. Now, the fun thing is at my field, we can also shoot. So we got to do a little shooting and a little flying.
Shooting and flying? Wow. Now I'm already starting to like that club already.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, that kind of reminds me of the paintball stuff that we did.
Paintball.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You guys can move to North Carolina.
Then when we get mad, we can shoot down our own plane.
That's right. We could be Frank.
Oh, tell them about Frank.
Oh my gosh! I sent these guys. I don't know why I hang out with these guys. I love these guys that I hang out with, but a couple of my buddies sent me this YouTube video of a guy who basically his name's Frank, but he's got a couple of YouTube things. And anyway, he had picked up the Motion RC A10. Not the big one, the 80 millimeter, but the smaller one, the 64 or whatever it was. If you haven't seen the video, I'll try to send it to you, Tim. But if you haven't seen it, the guy basically starts out like this nice, birds in the background. He's like, "Oh, I got my new A10," and as he starts putting the battery in, it just starts going downhill. I mean, like to the point where when I sent it to Jay, and Jay said he just clicked on it, and about 30 seconds into it, all he could hear was F-bombs being dropped, and he's like, "What did those guys send me?"
And stupid bat, beep beep beep, get in there, you beep beep, you mother beep.
The battery in.
Oh yeah, and I was busy. I was busy doing something else, and I had it playing. I go, "What did Mike send me?" So I said, "I'll check it out later." And then I checked it out later, and I was like, that guy has a problem. He has a slight anger problem.
And the sad part about it is that I was laughing so hard, my head was hurting. And it really was, and it was one of those things where it starts off and you're just like, oh my gosh, this guy's got a problem, and then all of a sudden he does something and then says something, and then it's kind of just this snowball. But he took off, and obviously this thing was not in trim. He didn't pre-flight.
Yeah, I was going to say, you got to tell him, like,
he didn't know what a CG was.
You do? Yeah, what's the first thing you do? You check your plane out, make sure the controls are going right, make sure the CG is good. This guy didn't do it. He just crammed that battery in there, put the top on, and it's supposed to have a strap on it. He did put the strap on.
Oh,
he just crammed it in there, stuck, all right, and then got down on the ground, just took off immediately. And then And then it just, like Mike was saying, it was
went downhill since then. I mean, the guy.
But
what struck me so funny is that I've been flying all week, and I've been flying with these guys, and we've been doing pretty good. But in this particular video, he takes off, and as soon as he gets airborne and turns it, he goes, "I don't got it. I don't got it." And then the rest of the video, he's screaming about, "I don't got it," and the airplane is just going crazy. You can see he's got to be slamming the sticks around. Anyway, long story short, he winds up crashing the airplane. And so they walk over to the airplane, and I'm dying already because I'm laughing at this whole I don't got it thing. And then finally, battery runs out or whatever, and he crashes it. And the airplane, and Jay will back me up, but the airplane just fell upside down. I mean, it hit the grass. It didn't
broke off a pylon or something easy to fix.
It was upside down, and I think the little pylon broke off, and that was it. It maybe, I think it may have crunched like the rudder, because it's got a twin boom rudder.
Maybe the gear popped out, but I mean, it was nothing major.
Yeah. He looks at that as a string of obscenities come out of his mouth.
He
literally jumps in the air, and lands on his airplane and proceeds to
stomps it into a little
stomp this airplane into the ground. Well, to make it even funnier is that the comment earlier when he crashed it was, "That airplane's terrible. I'm going to send it back." And then he stomps it to death. Anyway, if you haven't seen it, it's a pretty funny video. I'll try to send it to you, but
as long as your ears can handle the obscenities, holy crap! I think my ears melted. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That guy was letting them roll out, and we try to keep a family-friendly show.
Yeah, plus, the guy also, he's like from New Jersey or New York, and he's got a New Jersey, New York accent, the way he's talking on top of it. So that just adds to the flavor of the humor. In fact, it seems so over the top. I'm almost like it's like a persona. Like I was making the persona of this guy, Frank.
Yeah.
And that's why I looked at it, I go, is this guy for real? Because if he is, I could imagine like if he drives a school bus. Get in the bus, you stupid kids. I was thinking like this guy Frank as a police officer, Frank as the guy, as the co-pilot working for Mr. Moan over there while he's flying his jet. I don't got it. Oh, sir, we're on the glide. We're just a little bit off the glide slope. Oh my gosh,
he's a flight attendant actually.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I was just thinking all these like memes in my head of this guy. In his everyday life, if you saw him walking down the street, you kind of, you think of the crazy guy.
He's a flight attendant, actually.
This guy, Frank. So,
Frank in the grocery store.
Frank in the grocery store.
Yeah, he could do a whole YouTube series just on him, But anyway, they wound up sending me one or two videos. I didn't share the others with the other guys, but he bought like 2 or 3 airplanes at once and then crashed all of them. So
yeah, and they were all like Motion RC. He got the bigger version of the A10, the 80 millimeter version. Same. Very similar thing.
Okay, you didn't really say the best part of him flying, though, when he did. It was nighttime.
Oh, yeah.
The moon was out. I mean,
the moon was out, but it wasn't like dark. It was just dusk.
No, but
it didn't help. Remember, because I don't have orientation. I didn't have orientation. Which way is it going?
Yeah.
So it's a perfect time to made an airplane.
Oh, perfect time.
Right as the sun went down.
How did he even know he didn't have it? I mean, that was my,
I have maidened quadcopters at 2 a.m. Come on.
No, there you go.
Well, we'll have to send the video to you so you could see this guy because you go, wow, he was setting himself up for failure from the moment he put that plane on the ground.
Yep.
I mean, on a quad, you can at least see the RC receiver light, right?
True.
And usually you don't go full throttle and just let it zoom up out of sight. If you know what I mean, and they go, "Oh, where'd it go? Oh,
yeah."
let me put my goggles on."
usually, a little bit of a test hover is what you're doing because you just got finished soldering everything and programming the controller.
That's perfectly understandable. But this guy, quite literally, he flew full. It was either full power or it was off. He didn't realize it. That stick can go in the middle or
throttle was on a switch.
No.
It
could have been
full throttle or no throttle, one of the two.
It was either one of the two. So it was so funny. At one point he was trying to trim the plane out, and then he goes, "I don't have it. Oh my gosh, I'm whatever," and he cut the throttle. Finally, he stopped going full speed. He cuts the throttle, and the plane settles out and just starts gliding perfectly. And I'm like, land the plane. Just let the plane settle to the ground and land. And then he put full power to it, and then he's like, "I don't have it." It's just hilarious. The whole thing. You're just like. Oh my gosh, this guy's okay. But anyway, just one of those things.
Funny.
Don't be a Frank. That's all I can say.
Don't be a Frank. I like that. We're going to use that from now on, I think.
Yeah. I mean, you better pick up a different hobby. I don't know what that hobby would be, because this guy seems like he gets angry at a lot of things. So,
I wonder if he's a mean drunk. He could take up drinking as a hobby, I guess.
No.
Yeah, maybe so.
No.
You would, you would never know. You wouldn't be able to tell.
Yeah, you'd never know. That's true. You'd never know.
Oh
my gosh, that's too funny.
No.
Well, having brought him up, though, I mean, so tell us about your flying episode. What did you do when you went out flying?
Well, I have ZOHD or Zo. How did you?
Yeah, ZOHD.
ZOHD Nano Talon, which I absolutely love flying. I've got it set up with FPV, and it's just a great flying airplane. It's a lot of fun, and so that's my go-to whenever I fly. I did take my Micro Sky Hunter with me. I never did get it. I never did fly it. I flew the Nano Talon the whole time, and then this is one of those things where I kind of won a UMX Timber at Hayfie last year.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, which is a really cool airplane, but it cost me a lot of money.
How's that?
I don't have, and don't I? If you go back and listen to me on the Crashcast and stuff, I am not a fan of Spectrum. I love the plug and play stuff, or the bind and fly stuff, but I am not a Spectrum fan. And it's just that's
ever
me.
Since the accident. Tell us, Tim, what happened?
No. I've never owned. I have literally never owned a Spectrum. I thought that I had an issue with the company, and I'm just going to leave it at that. I don't punish Horizon Hobby anymore over this.
Right.
I'm glad you're over it, as we can.
Yeah. Well, it's just one of those things. I bought Tyrannus radio several years ago and haven't looked back. I like the radio. The receivers are cheap. Blah blah.
Finally, we evened up the score here. Whew.
Yeah, because I can't stand Tyrannus, so no offense.
And I can understand that. But so anyway, I have a DM9 module for my Tyrannus radio, but I really don't like the way it runs, the bind and fly stuff. So I ended up this is a convoluted story.
Sounds like it.
I went to I had a business trip that I went on just before everything went on lockdown. It was the end of February, and I was flying Delta Airlines. They needed a seat on the flight that I was on. I didn't have to be there till the next day, so they're like, "We'll get you there on the next flight," and they offered me $400. I said,
Ching.
"Okay, I'll take it." Normally,
I'll take it.
Normally, I was like, I thought it was going to be $400, to fly on Delta, which, okay, great. But it turned out you could choose a bunch of different things, and one of them was just straight up American Express gift card for $400.
Cool.
So I went out and bought a DX6. So
there you go.
Yeah, support my local hobby shop in this rough time, et cetera, et cetera. And so yeah, the quote unquote free airplane cost $229 for a new radio.
Oops.
But now I have a DX6 with which I can fly all of my any of the bind and fly stuff. Which I've got a Whippet and UMX Radian. So I like those airplanes.
Welcome to the dark side.
Yeah, well, I will not be flying it, or I won't be buying any other type thing. The UMX stuff is about where I'm at with the bind and fly stuff, but I never say never. So
yeah, it always comes back to bite us.
I could be talked into something else too.
That's funny.
But so anyway, the UMX Timber is a great flying airplane. I'm a little sketchy on the whole. What is that? AS3X stuff.
Right, they put that in all the UMX stuff now.
Yeah, they put it.
Yeah,
in
which. Okay, so flight stabilization is cool, but getting it to set up properly when it's a little bit windy outside is a little tough because the airplane was rocking around and I couldn't get it to stabilize properly to get it to fly it once. So anyway, that was the my deal with that. But we had a good time. It was sunny and 75 degrees outside, and it was just an absolutely gorgeous day in North Carolina. So had a lot of fun with it, and so I'm looking forward to getting out a little bit more now, hopefully with the weather getting better and whatnot.
Yeah, that's right. Spring is right around the corner, so the weather should be getting better over there.
Yeah, well, it's been
good here. We've
mowed the lawn a few times now, so it's definitely spring here. But
sure. Well, I've literally been out, pretty much almost every day because the weather here is fabulous. It's fantastic, and it's just at that time of the year where it's nice and cool, but the sun's out, so you're not really cold, but you're not really like smoking hot.
Yep.
And your batteries, they react really well. So, but I did just go to the field a couple days ago, and
I heard the speaking of mowing, you should have mowed your field out there.
I should have mowed my field. Yep. You don't really think about tall grass we really don't have tall grass here in Arizona.
In the desert.
What we do have are weeds, and it has rained earlier this year. My yard is terrible. It's the worst it's ever looked because, any type of heavy rain and if it soaks in, it just the weeds just grow. They're crazy, and they do grow fairly high. And I was out flying my little L39, the EDF, and I'd flown it about 3 or 4 times. I took my battery charger out there, so I was just basically flying and charging. And a couple of the guys at the field that are there, relatively often, they're like, out there flying as well. And so I'm out, and the guy says, hey, I'm doing a low pass. And he comes by like above everybody's head. And I go, that was a low pass? That's not a low pass. So I came down like right above the runway. And they're like, "Ooh, that was low." And I'm like, "Yeah, if you're going to say low pass, get down in the weeds." And they're like, "Oh, well, how low can you go?" And I said, "Well, I could probably hit some of those weeds." So I came down full throttle as fast as this thing was coming out of a dive, and I leveled off, and you could hear the weeds going bap, 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 against the wingtip as I was going by, right up until it caught the big weed. And the tip tank caught onto a big, stiff weed that was all wrapped up, and that airplane hit the deck, I mean, perfectly level. And all you heard was this, what, and I thought, oh, criminy. And the airplane literally bounced, went in the air, and started to roll. And I still had control, so I just rolled it all the way over and then set it right down in the grass. And everybody was like, "Oh man, you destroyed your airplane." And I go, "I don't think so. I think it's in pretty good condition because it's still sitting upright, and I didn't have the landing gear or the flaps down or any of that stuff." So as I walked over there, I just kind of pushed the throttle up, and all I could hear was it going. So when it hit the ground, it sucked up a rock and totally ate every single blade of my EDF. I mean, it stripped it down to where there was not one blade left. I will post a picture on our Facebook page, but there was nothing left of that EDF.
Now, Mike, I just have a question for you real quick.
Sure.
I feel like what you probably said was, "Here, hold my beer. Let me show you."
Yeah, if you didn't notice that about Mike, he's always had a little problem with peer pressure. Hey, Mike, do this. Hey, Mike, you'll eat it. All that kind of stuff. So it's, luckily it hasn't hurt him too bad in his professional career as a, airline
that's
captain.
True.
Hey, you think you can land on that runway over there?
That happened one time, real quick story. We were in the simulator, and when we're in the simulator, we're doing some work, takeoff, landings, approaches, that kind of thing. And we were somewhere in Florida because they can put you anywhere in the world to do these. And off the coast, you could see these lights. And I was like, "Hey, what is that out there?" And they said, "Oh, that's an aircraft carrier." I'm like, "Hey, can we fly out there?" And they're like, "Yeah." So we had a few minutes in the sand. We went out there. And I was like, "Hey, can I land on the carrier?" And they're like, "No, you can't land on the carrier. Nobody can land on the carrier. It's a big airline thing. You're not going to get that thing on the carrier." I'm like, "I bet I can." And they're like, "No, nobody's done it." I'm like, "I bet I can." So I set up and
and got it all the way to where actually we had to do a view outside like a computer because the nose wheel was sitting right on the edge of the back tail. I mean, I got it stopped, but the nose was just about to fall over. And had there been, and I will tell you, he bumped the wind up for me, so I was able to kind of, slow way down. But I did.
Yeah, by 200 miles an hour.
Yeah, I was going really slow. But they were all like, woohoo, somebody actually finally did it. Because most guys will just come in there and just, and they're like, were you a Navy guy? And I'm like, nope, I just play a lot of computer games. But that was kind of funny. So, but anyway, back to my L-39. It did it broke the wing tank off. So that's broken half. And it popped when it hit the ground, it hit hard enough to pop the canopy off. So the canopy has a little rock chip in it, kind of cracked it and broke a little piece out. But other than that, I think it broke an aileron,
clevis.
The clevis. Yeah. The rod, actually, it broke the rod because it's a ball link. And the ball link portion broke, so it won't hold on anymore. So I basically came home, and I was a little depressed. I was like, it's going to be a little spackling work. But the top part of it's fine, not a scratch. And the bottom part just looks like it's kind of been, what Jay says, 60 grit sandpapered right on the bottom.
Looks like it's been through the weeds.
It does. As a matter of fact, one of the wings, I showed Jay, one of the wings is all green where the weeds were hitting it as it was going by. It had a couple of weeds stuck in it, so... But they were all giving me the high fives. And, oh my gosh, that was awesome, and we're sorry about your plane. And I'm like, yeah, it's okay. So I've already made my Motion RC order. I just got notification today that it got delivered. That it got shipped. So
Mike's doing his part to keep up our economy. Those Motion guys,
that is correct.
No problem keeping their business open.
I will give a shout out though. I mean, that airplane has probably been through a couple of wrecks. I've crashed in the desert twice, and mostly because I fly that thing. I probably have 500 flights on that airplane. And not only me, but everybody that I bring out here, they get to fly it as well. So Mike has flown it, Jay has flown it. There's like half a dozen other guys that have come visited me that have got to, turn on the sticks. And it's a really great airplane. I mean, I really have a good time with it. And in hindsight, having everybody fly it and do all this, I probably shouldn't have custom painted it the way I did, because now every time I have to fix it, I have to redo the custom paint. So that's kind of, luckily for me this time, it's all on the bottom, so I only have to paint that white. But the top part is that multicolor blue, and it's troublesome. So, but I did get a couple of thumbs up that I actually got as low as I could go. But now I have to replace the EDF blade on my L-39. So on its way. Then we'll be back in the air. I'll put some spackling on it, some paint on it, and it'll look fine.
Until the next time.
Fun. What's that?
I said until the next time.
Yeah. Well, I will tell you that before, there's another guy at the field that has one too, and they were out flying it. And he's a little more free thinker. I don't know how to say that, but he's a little more...
What?
I don't know.
I'd suggest moving on to that before you offend somebody.
Well, no, I'm just saying that he takes a little more liberties in the way he treats his equipment, I guess is the better way to say it. But he was out flying it. We were flying, and I did some kind of a nose up tumble or something, and they were egging him on to do something. And so one of the guys said, "Hey, do a full throttle blender." And if you don't know what a blender is, basically they go way up high, they put the nose to the ground, they start an aileron roll, and then as they get fast speed, they'll do an outside snap roll to an inverted flat spin. Well, normally you do that with no power, and then you add power when you transition from the aileron roll into the inverted flat spin. So you're adding power at the last second to get it to spin around. And the guys in the 3D world do it all the time, and it's really cool looking, but it's really hard on the airplane. So they had talked to him into doing this, and they said, but don't do it at idle power, do it at full power. So he takes this EDF up, 4 or 5 mistakes high, and puts it in a nose down at full throttle. And he's rolling this thing at the ground full throttle in about maybe 50 to 75 feet in the air. He goes into the the inverted flat spin part, and all of us thought for sure he was going to just pancake this thing into the ground. It whipped into that inverted blender so fast. And now it's like, how do you fly out of it? Because you've got all this downward momentum towards the ground, but now you have to transition to get out of it to go left and right. And, man, he came really close to the ground, and we were like, woohoo, and like, do it again, So he went up and did it again, but this time he didn't come down so low. He had to actually, kind of get a little bit ahead of it so that it didn't just, do nothing, didn't just smack into the ground. So I will say, Jay, that I didn't succumb to peer pressure because they were egging me to do the same thing, and I opted not to do that. So,
finally.
Yeah, he can learn. Yay.
So, but they let another guy do it, and the other guy, he waited a little too late and came out of it inverted, went right past the fence line where we were all standing. We thought he was going to go underneath the roof line where everybody was standing, but he actually wound up pitching it inverted over it, and then it kind of went through two poles and he flew it out. But he was way behind over by the parked cars, and we were all yelling at him, get out of the pits, and he's just trying to hang on to that thing because it got away from him. But we were having a good time, and we thought for sure that thing was just going to auger in the ground, but luckily it didn't. So, but we had a good time, and so now I have that to build. And I did get my MXS back up and running. I finally got the parts in for that. I put it back together and just made it yesterday, actually.
Fill Tim in on what you did to that plane.
I think we talked about it last time. If you didn't listen to the podcast, I bought a new MXS from E-Flight, and we ordered them as a big group from Tim up at Northwest RC. Super Tim brought them down to the Electric Festival, and we all had different versions. But I got the baby metal MXS. And I put it all together, went out, flew it. Flies fantastic. I love the way it flies. And then right at the last second, one or two flights before this one, something happened and the motor disconnected. And so I lost the motor, and I was thinking, well, this isn't, something's not right with this. So I kind of put everything back together, and went and flew it. I did a knife edge spin to an inverted flat spin, and when I got to the inverted flat spin, or during the knife edge portion, we heard a pop, 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 and the capacitors actually shot off of the ESC. So I literally lost all control, and I watched this thing just spin right into the ground. Well, luckily for me, I got a Demon Cortex on it, and so the Demon, when I came out, just stabilized everything until the power went out, but then it just kept it where it was. So it actually literally just fluttered to the ground like a leaf. And it broke the motor box, and it crushed the rudder. But that was it. And the canopy. The canopy wasn't really, nothing was wrong with it until it had a big dent in it. But when I released the pressure from the dent, like I pushed it to think it would go, the whole front of it popped in half, so it was all under pressure, and it cracked. So I ordered a new rudder, and I ordered a new canopy. And then I went ahead and took liberty after watching Spencer put some of his airplanes back together, and I rebuilt the whole motor box with some popsicle sticks and some CA glue, and a couple of I just basically kind of looked at the photo I had before when I was building it, and I took a popsicle stick and on my sander, and I just made it look just like the other one, and then I glued it right into place, and everything went back perfect. So I took it out yesterday and flew it. I was up flying it. I did the same maneuver, and the motor quit. So when I came back down, sure enough,
some people don't learn.
I know, right?
Stop doing that maneuver.
Something
Come on.
Well, I don't know, but I can't figure out why it's coming out of the motor. It's one of the three wires that actually goes into the electronic speed controller, the ESC, and it's one of them, and they're big. They're like 5.5 millimeter, plugs. So it just backs out, and I don't know why. Because I've got the wires all, tied in where they're not, flopping around, and it must be just something in that maneuver that causes a strain for it to kind of move. And we thought maybe the ESC was moving backwards, but it's actually strapped into a tray that's actually zip tied to the the airplane itself, so it's not moving anywhere. So now what I did is I actually took electrical tape and I just taped everything, all the wires onto it, and so that if it comes out, I'll be really surprised. But it felt a lot better when I flew it after I taped it all up because I got good throttle response, and I I basically stuck a screwdriver in there and kind of made the prongs, because it's kind of prongish, to when it fits together. So I made them tighter, so it was really hard to kind of get it in, and hopefully that'll stay. But I was really happy with it, and it's got some dings and scratches, and it's not perfect anymore, but it flies really well. I like it. It flew real well.
I thought I was going to lose my Nano Talon when I was out flying the other day. I have never had this happen to me. I was flying FPV, so I'm under the goggles, and I'm flying straight down the runway. I pass by myself, and I've got a dual diversity or a diversity receiver on my goggles. I've got a patch antenna for directional, and I've got a pretty good omnidirectional antenna on as well. And the screen goes black, just immediately black. Got nothing. And I thought, oh no, but I knew where I was. Fortunately, I didn't freak out. I flipped my goggles up, and I
didn't do a Frank.
No, I didn't do a Frank. I looked up and to my right, and I see it. The airplane's only like 40 feet over the runway. I mean, I was just running straight down the runway, and I must have gotten in the cone of silence. That's the only thing I could think of.
Oh yeah, sure.
Because I flew it back line of sight and landed, and then checked, and it was working fine. So. The antenna was fine on the transmitter. The transmitter was still secure, everything. So I don't know. The video transmitter was secure. So I don't know what happened, but it seems to be working fine now. So I'm hoping that doesn't happen to me again, because it was this is one of my favorite airplanes. It's not super expensive to replace, fortunately, if I had to, but. They did just come out with I don't know whether they just came out, but they have a new version of it, which has a bay that you can put a GoPro in it, and it points down, so you could do some aerial mapping and stuff like that if you wanted to with that airplane. And it's a small airplane. I don't. You want to talk, or have you teased with who your guest might be next time? But
no,
okay,
not yet. But you can let the cat out of the bag if you want.
Okay, I don't know whether I'm stealing their thunder or not, but ZOHD may be on the next time you hear the podcast. So
maybe so.
But yeah, it's a neat airplane, and all of the wings pop off. They have a mechanical linkage for the ailerons, and the aileron servos are in the fuselage, and the rudders are the same way. So, you can take the thing apart, and it makes it very small and very, very easy to transport. So if you have a small car or something like that, or you want to throw it in for vacation or whatever, this would be a great airplane to take.
That's the one that you travel with, right? Mike, you travel with that one, right?
The Nano Talon, yeah.
Yeah, the Nano Talon.
Yeah,
that's what we're talking about.
So, what's going to happen though is we're just going to that part of the podcast is going to be like silence. You're going to be like, and so what we're going to talk about is, and then it's just going to be silent.
That's right. Exactly.
3 minutes. 3 minutes of silence. Yeah.
Or we'll just do the thing with Jay, like beep.
No, I'm excited to hear that, because they've got some really neat airplanes. I've also got a Dart that's sitting behind me a little ways that I have to finish wiring up to for the FPV gear. So I'm looking forward to flying that one as well. They're nice flying airplanes. There's nothing super spectacular about them, but they also fly nicely, and I haven't had any trouble with them.
Good.
So
yeah, the biggest thing I like about them is that you can break them apart, throw them back in the box that you got it, that came to you in, and you can carry it on the airplane, because both AK Mike and myself, we've traveled out to Mike's place out in Arizona, and they're easy to get on a plane, easy to put together. That's the big thing I like about their brand. Yep.
Yeah, no, it's a neat airplane. Or the Nano Talon is I'm looking forward to the Dart. We'll see how that does. I haven't looked into any of their bigger stuff. The two airplanes I have are pretty small.
Right.
But
don't forget, it takes a 2200.
Well,
yeah, that's right.
2200. I have not flown with a 2200, but the Nano Talon, I put a 8-minute timer on my transmitter, and I come down at what is it, like, it's I think it's over 11 volts. Battery voltage. So I could fly probably another 7-8 minutes if I wanted to with it. So
that's pretty impressive, actually.
Yeah.
So,
I don't.
We just
I don't flog it real hard either, though.
Right. So. And we did get a message from those guys, and they've actually got some new battery
technology,
some new batteries out too. So hopefully we'll be able to touch base with them and see what that's all about.
Yeah.
So we're looking forward to that as well. So, well, Jay, did you get out the field and fly at all, or
I didn't get out to the field, but I've gotten in my backyard.
Oh,
so I've grabbed some
flying in your backyard.
Well, yeah, I grabbed some of when Mike was down, we were flying his cracked jack in my backyard.
Oh, that's right.
So that just got me to get some of the planes down and off the shelf over there, and I got some of my smaller ones, and I've been playing with them. And so just before we came on, I grabbed one of my small gliders. Actually, it's from it's called a Weekender, the Hawkeye Weekender, and it's from Mike, aka Mike. Who are the guys we just bought? Like you bought the plane that I crashed out at Holly Springs.
Multiplex.
Oh, Multiplex. Yeah, it's made by Multiplex.
Yeah, it's a Multiplex.
So I had gotten that plane for like $25 or $20. So it's just a little glider, a little beginner glider type of thing. And of course, I was flying it in the backyard. It was kind of fun. The wind came up. And then I just started noticing all the problems that I didn't like about it. So, I started modifying it a little bit. So next thing I know,
am I not surprised?
Yeah, I know. I cut the tail off, and then and then I said, well, the wings need to be longer to be more gliderish. I'm making air quotes that nobody can see. Gliderish, and so that's what I'm working on now is to lengthen the wing and just get the tail surfaces, not to be so stiff. So that's basically what I was doing. Just got inspired to do that just like 5 minutes before we went on air. So.
Oh, well, there you go. See, he's. I got some topics for you. 5 minutes ago, I just picked this up.
I don't know whether anybody else has felt like this, but that NPRM with the flight ID stuff really kind of knocked me for a loop as far as RC goes. I got to the point where I was like, maybe I'll just get rid of all my stuff. I seriously, that was going through my head because I feel like they're just piling on because of the multi-rotor, and it's not all multi-rotor flyers either. It's a lot of the DJI Phantom type people who just don't know any better.
Right. Well, there's, my wife went out to night before. Anyway, it was sometime this couple of nights ago. And anyway, we have a little dog. She got up and the dog had to go out to use the facilities. And so she let him out and she's standing on our back porch. And then she comes running in and she's like, hey. And I'm like, what? It's in the middle of the night. It's like 2 a.m. She's like, yeah, there's like a drone flying over the house. I'm like, what? So sure enough, there's somebody in this area that has one, and it's like a DJI Mini or Mavic or whatever it is. And yeah, they fly it. It's 2 a.m. and they're flying it. And so I was telling my neighbor about it because I asked him if he saw it, and he goes, you know what? They're probably looking for the one that's sitting in our next door neighbor's yard because it's been sitting there. That they crashed one and it's been sitting in his yard for like a month. And he goes, I told him about it because it was like, down in between the fence area between his fence and my neighbor's fence. And he's like, he finally went and got it. And I was like, oh man, I should go over there, and see if I could, figure out who owns it or if it's got, I could download whatever, see the guy putting his battery in or whatever. But yeah, I guess he might be out looking for it, and I don't know. But there are people that do, kind of go outside the law. What Mike calls it, what do you call it, Mike?
Bandit flying.
Something flying. Bandit flying. Yeah, he's kind of coining the term bandit flying. But
I don't know. I was curious whether any of you guys were feeling kind of the same defeated, I guess, is sort of how I was feeling about it.
No.
I'm not going to give up flying.
Well, no. The reason I don't, because not to say I'm a nonconformist, but I kind of am. As much as I work for the government, as much as I don't like the government in a sense, and I just for things like this, I'm almost to the point of I will not comply. I know it's a radical thing to say, but sometimes you have to do that in order to make the government perk up and go, hey, we made this law, we made this whatever, but nobody's complying. And to give you an example of such, okay, so you remember back with this particular crew that we have, I know you guys will remember this, but in the early 70s, and everybody had to have a CB radio, and that was just like everybody was CB stuff and, breaker. Well, the FCC, you were supposed to have a license. You were supposed to.
Yeah, that's true.
You just couldn't go out and get a CB radio, and then it became the craze, and everybody went out and got a CB radio and was doing their thing, and they were powerless. But they were making rules to stop people from doing stuff, and where did that go? Nowhere.
Well, that's how I'm going to practice my social distancing. I'm going to socially distance myself from those rules.
There you go.
I feel like they're a virus.
Really good.
There's a lot of people flying FPV that do not have a ham license either.
And that's true. And that was brought to our attention way back, when we first got started.
Yeah.
Doug Leroy brought that to our attention. But,
yeah.
Here's another thing is that, and people don't really realize this, but typical government fashion, somebody is driving this, right? This is not necessarily the entire FAA. This is a small
exactly
group.
Right.
A small group with inside the FAA that somebody says, hey, you know what, this is going to be a good idea, or some corporation said, hey, we need this and we need you to do this.
I don't think it's even coming from
else,
inside the FAA.
I think it might not.
I think it's coming from some industry groups like Amazon and
absolutely
the ones that are wanting to do the drone delivery and things.
Right.
And I've also heard,
and I agree with that.
I've
agree
heard
with that.
Helicopter associations are pretty hostile to, but they're flying in that same airspace, right?
Right. But here's the problem: is that typical government program, they get a lot of traction, and then the guy that's in charge of it gets promoted or retires or moves to a different job, and the project just gets dropped, even though they went through all this trouble. I've seen it happen more than once, and I've been in this industry a long time. And, it just, and Jay can testify to that too, because he was on the government side, and it just happens that way. Somebody will grab this, and if they've got enough, a bite into it in a short enough period of time, and they don't need 2 or 3 years to do a study like this is starting to look like, they're not going to have to read 50,000, which is kind of depressing. It should have been 4 million. But they have to read every one of these letters, respond to them, and do all that other stuff. At some point in there, the guy's going to go, I'm moving to a different job. You can have all this. And the next guy in line is going to go, wait, I got to start from scratch and read 40,000, 50,000 emails again. So I think that you heard a lot about it. It's going to kind of go into this little black hole. And then we may hear about it again 2 years later when they go, hey, we finally caught up to, where this is. Technology's kind of fine here. And I think we'll be at a little bit different place at that point. But
I think you're right. The one thing that, is encouraging to me is, I think it was Josh Bixler was talking on Flight Test that he had spoken to somebody from the FAA, and they actually asked him to come to Washington and talk to him about it. He is an incredible spokesman for the hobby. He's incredibly charismatic and just an all around nice guy. If you ever met him,
sure.
Just incredibly nice guy. And I think we may see some good come of that, because the way they had that NPRM worded, it was going to kill the hobby.
Well, and I think you have a lot of money behind this too, right? I mean,
yeah.
there's it would basically kill an industry, and you can't really do that. And
right.
I think that there's enough lawyers. I mean, Jay and I and Mike all know lawyers that fly RC. That's what they do for a living, and they come out here, and it's kind of their, all these lawyers, if they got together, it wouldn't take much. I mean, 5 or 6 really, really dedicated lawyers to go do all the legwork on it and donate that time. Next thing you know, it's in front of the Supreme Court, and the FAA is kind of going, well, we tried to get it done, but
the FAA lost that lawsuit.
Sure
the one attorney, and he was like an insurance attorney. He didn't even specialize in what he was suing them over, but it worked. But then it all stayed kind of the same anyway, because Congress put that verbiage into the law then.
Right.
But
Well,
anyway.
I think just with this COVID-19, the way things are kind of going right now, and the way the government's moving, and everybody's just kind of on edge. This is just a good time to go out and relax and fly. Don't be a Frank and get all hyper and out of control.
Be a Frank.
No.
This is a time to just relax, go out, have a good time. We were laughing, even when I hit the ground with my L-39, bounced it. We were still laughing because it was it was fun, and it stuff like that happens, and that airplane is meant to go out and have a really, really good time with. It's not my F-15 turbine, but it's a fun airplane and it's easily fixable. So I think everybody should take this time, especially with the weather getting good and or getting better, I guess. And the social distancing at the field has been working really well. The tables are far enough apart. We're kind of every other table. The pilot stations are at least 10 or 15 feet apart. It's not like it's really loud for us, so we don't have a lot of, loud noises going on. So we can chit-chat or sit in the chairs and kind of talk. So it's been a good time for me and the other guys that are there. We all have a good time.
Heck, I'm an engineer. I've been social distancing for decades.
There you go.
So, Tim, real quick, is there any plans you're going to for the summer? Getting ready for the summer? Any one project or anything you're working on?
The Dart is one that I really want to get going. The other one is I sort of inherited a senior telemaster
look at
several years ago, and I would like to get that flying. The guy that I got it from crashed it and broke the vertical off of it. It's not a huge repair, but it's just one of those things that I've just never gotten around to. And I would love to instrument that with a pitot tube and all kinds of fun stuff, put some FPV gear on it and have kind of a heads up display on it. That's kind of my on my wish list of stuff to do.
That would be cool.
Well, there you go. You can join in with Jay because he's pointing to his in the background right there, and he's going to put lights on his and make it a night flyer.
Yeah, oh yeah.
But he inherited
Super
the same,
night
same
flyer.
thing. Yeah.
So, I'm assuming that when you were talking about putting cameras, that was with a Z, making it plural, 3 or 4 cameras on it. Because you can carry
Is that
old
plural?
analog
Plural?
Sony cameras in a Telemaster. So,
well, that is true, and there would be one FPV camera, but there will probably be more. I think I'm going to do it in stages so that I can incrementally and make each thing work properly before I move on.
If
to the
I
next
could
step.
suggest a thing for a camera, there happens to be a nice, I think it's a 1x50 or 1x100 zoom camera that's out there that you can hook up for FPV.
Okay.
So it's a little expensive, but that plane could carry it.
But it's my money, so who cares, right?
That's right.
That's right.
Jay is very good at
So,
spending your money. Trust me.
I am.
We'd
But
like
you're
to
gonna get
encourage
quality
you.
stuff for it.
We were known as I'm known as an enabler.
Yes, we all.
Well, we went out last Saturday flying, and one other guy in my club was there, so we were flying, and he watched me fly the UMX Timber. He goes, "Man, now I'm gonna have to buy one of those."
I know it's terrible.
And then I let him
do
shoot
that all
the
the
rifle
time.
that I brought out, and he was like, "Man, now I'm gonna have to buy one of these." So
I usually say I'm a muse. I help other people aspire
Yeah.
to greater things.
yeah,
It's not an enabler. You're a muse. You just
okay.
you open up that inner thing that just says to them, "I have to do that too." So
And let me tell you, he has honed his skill with me. Trust me. We've known this has been a 30-some-odd year project for Jay. He is razor sharp when it comes to it. Hey,
Yeah.
Mike, I was thinking the other day. I'm like, what? Next thing I know, I've got 5 items en route to my house, and I'm like, what am I doing with this? I don't even know why this is coming.
Yep.
But he just knows my personality, so he's good at it. And now he's got my wife involved too. So, for my birthday, he got me a reloader, and he got her to give me some reloading stuff. So the next thing you know, I'm in my room all squished out with reloading stuff. It's crazy. You got to stay away from that guy.
Yeah, we're not even going to start talking about reloading.
It's a whole nother podcast.
Oh my goodness!
Start a
Trying
new
to
channel.
find primers right now is a
I
chore.
know exactly.
Jay
It
looks
is.
like a nice
Some
guy,
powers.
but he is insidious.
Yes, he is insidious.
I picked that up the last time I was on the show, so that's why we're best of friends now.
I am what I am. I never try to be something I'm not, gentlemen. So.
It's like that Beatles tune, the minute you let him under your skin. It's just right there. He's there. Well, we love him anyway. Well, man, I was looking at the clock, and our hour looks like it's pretty much up.
It's flown by.
Go.
Okay.
Yeah, I know, right? It's just crazy. So, Mike, we never really got to you. Did you do any flying? Or you did some paramotoring.
No, I didn't do it. I did some paramotoring. But one thing I did do was print some 3D parts because of my excellent skill at crashing the cracked yak in Jay's backyard. I had to build some, I would call them reinforced. So I just made some flat pieces, 3D printed some flat pieces.
I was going to say some planks.
Actually, that plane is
some planks.
That plane is going to probably dent the ground now. I mean, I don't think it'll break anymore because it seems pretty solid. So it was kind of wiggly even before I broke it, but after I broke it, it was even more wiggly. So now it's
I'm sure
now it's in good shape.
Well, I will tell you that Barry here, he has been printing like madman a bunch of 3D parts. He got a new Ender 3D printer, and so now you've been printing. Jay's been printing. Everybody's been printing 3Ds stuff. So, I mean, I don't know. Tim, do you have a 3D printer as well? Or?
You think I don't?
No, well, I don't know. I don't have one. I
don't have one.
Fought it. Oh, you have more than one, so there you go. All right. Speaking of 3D printer stuff, I will tell you that Jay sent out a message just the other day that one of our guests on a previous podcast has his website up now, 3D Aero Ventures. And,
that's right.
He's got some of the stuff.
His website's up. He has 3 planes on his website.
And I felt like his plans for that Xfinity wing that he did were reasonable. Was only $30 for the files. And I just need to go over to Jay's house and print that whole thing out because I don't have a printer that will print it.
There you go, because your printer has to be a little bigger. So there you go. But that's fantastic that they're able to do that. Well, Tim, we are so excited that you joined us tonight. We know that you're a busy guy and holed up in your little your world over there. But it is always exciting to have a special guest on, and you are welcome any time to come hang out with us on the Park Flyer podcast.
Well, thanks for having me. I would have, honestly, I would have been happy to come on sooner, but I didn't have anything to talk about flying wise. So thought, okay, now that I've actually flown something, I could actually talk about flying again.
You know, that really hasn't stopped us before. So.
Oh, I know. Trust me. There's been weeks where there's been months on the AOA and Crashcast. It was like that too, but when I'm going to guest speak, I guess I should probably have flown within the last little bit anyway.
When I flew last year,
exactly.
We don't care.
Well, just fly one of your night drones and do that. And call it good.
There you
go. I've kind of stopped flying the multi-rotors at this point. It's it's not that I'm anti anything. I don't know. Fixed wing is kind of my game.
So I'm going to go back. I'm going to go back.
Waves,
I'm sorry, with that 3D printer stuff. I'm going to go back to building my that X. What was that? What was that plane? X11 or something? That it was basically a VTOL airplane.
Oh, the tilt rotor.
Yeah,
VTOL.
tilt rotor.
The tilt rotor.
And now that I can print 3D printed parts, I'll be able to do things I couldn't do before. So I'm excited about that. Doing that again, trying to build that again, so I could solidify the frame so it doesn't vibrate as much.
Funny
make things be adjustable so I can move around if they're not in the right spot, etc. And I think that'll be a lot better.
Well, if you decide to do that, and if it sounds like you are, then make sure you document it and take some photos, send them to us, and we can throw them on the website. The
website.
Pictures? We don't need no stinking pictures.
We need pictures. So, well, if you're a listener on our Facebook listeners group, go ahead and post. We've gotten way more members, so we're continuing to increase in membership, and we appreciate your patronage there. Parkflyerpodcast.com. Donate if you can. Help us with some of our costs. If you have been listening at the very beginning of this, we mentioned that we were going to have a phone number. We'll roll that out hopefully sometime in the near future where you can call and leave some remarks. We're looking forward to interacting with our listeners as we get further into the summer.
I think we should call them back. I think we should.
We will. I think we should too. But we can always hear their voice and have them say, "Hey, one thing or another," and then we'll get them on the show. So, and I think as the summer rolls in, we got a couple of really good guys that are lined up that have agreed to come on the show, and I think we got a good lineup for the next few weeks. So, and of course, once again, Tim joined us. I'm sure he'll be back on sooner rather than later.
Yeah, he still owes us money.
I think so.
You're welcome anytime. Well, that pretty much wraps it up for us. If you're sequestered, once again, go out and buy a plane, get it delivered, build it, let us know all about it. So those of us that are kind of in the house and focusing on what we need to do is either building like Jay or flying like me or whatever Mike's doing, 3D printing stuff, and tell us what you're doing in your world while you're stuck inside. So. Well, that pretty much wraps it up for this podcast. Holy smokes, it's just going by so fast. I can't believe it's rolling into the last part of April. Man, summer's going to be here any second, and I don't look forward to summer here because it's really hot. So,
you chose to live in Arizona.
Yeah, that's build season.
That's
for me,
build season, right?
Guys, but I don't know. Maybe I'll take a trip and come down and see Jay, and we can go fly in his nice humid weather as opposed to the heat up here. So, Mike as well. Well, from Michael here in Arizona.
Jay from the hills of Texas.
And AK Mike in Texas.
And our special guest, Tim.
In North Carolina.
We welcome you. All righty, we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Let's fly.
You have been listening to the Park Flyer Podcast. Thank you for joining us, and we look forward to your next visit. Please give our show a star rating and review, and feel free to email us your questions, topics, or suggestions to parkflyerpodcast@gmail.com.
We're trying to actually update the way we work and do things, and we've tried really hard.
So who's the new guy? That ain't me. He's got 2 thumbs and he's the guy. That's me.
It's on silent. It rang on my computer.
Oh, that's funny. Oh, wow. That's really funny.
Came through.
That has to stay.
Okay, try that again.
I can't remember what I was saying. Oh yeah. Okay.
So new things.